it's the best way to think about NFTs is to put yourself in the shoes of a creator, of a artist. Just imagine you're a photographer. You're a reasonably well-known photographer, and currently your business is you take a beautiful picture of Yosemite or the Alps. You issue 100 prints. They're all worth $1,000 each. You price them at $1,000 each. You put it on your web store, and you already have a reasonable reputation. So people buy it off you, and you ship it to them for $1,000. That's the traditional business. But this is a analog business because you're issuing physical goods, and then you go to the post office and you ship it. Now we know that the digital economy is the fastest growing part, right? So like people are selling digital goods. So how can you as a photographer sell digital goods? If we're having this conversation prior to 2017, the answer is you can't. There's nothing the internet can do for this photographer other than provide a web end front, like a web store front end that kind of just gives presence. If you try to sell a digital copy of this photograph, how much can you sell it for? The answer is zero. Because why? Because the reason why it sells for zero is because literally, there's this joke in the NFT world, right click and save. Anyone can right click and save. And then this file has no has no provenance value. Like, let's say I'm this photographer, I upload this file on my website. And I say, you can buy a digital version of this file, 10 megapixel version for $1,000. The one person buys it, and somehow it gets leaked on a torrent or something. All the files are exactly the same. There's literally no difference from the person who paid $1,000 from the person who just like kind of found in some corner of the internet. You cannot prove you bought it. It's because part of the wonderful thing about digital is that cost of replication is free. So they're infinity copies, and anything that has infinity copies have zero value. Whereas the analog prints are finite, so they have value. So the only way you could, so basically, from the photographer's perspective, there's no value capture mechanism on the internet. All you can do is sell online and ship physical bits. NFTs, the first kind of core standard for NFTs were invented on the Ethereum blockchain. It's called ERC 721 token. That came out in 2017. And it was basically a way of generating a little packet of code on top of the Ethereum blockchain, which is distributed across tens of thousands of computers across the world, that was provably scarce, so that these tokens could not be replicated because it was protected by cryptography. And these were non-fungible in the sense that each are different than the other. One Bitcoin is the same as any other Bitcoin. They're interchangeable, they're identical, they're fungible. But for things like content, they're actually, by definition, non-fungible, right? Because they're all different. So anyway, the core aspect is you can now create a digital bit that is provably unique and provably scarce. And this packet of code, the most important thing about this packet of code is it has a little signature that says where it came from. So if now let's imagine I'm this artist, the year is 2021, I hear about NFTs because I read about it. I'm like, cool, let me try this stuff. I can now take the same photograph. Look, let's say I took a new photograph. It's my latest work. I'm not even going to do analog prints. I'm just going to try this NFT business. I'm going to basically I scan this photograph, or it's digital anyway now, right? I have this photo, it's an original high resolution photo, and I mint an NFT. And what it does is it creates a unique signature for this NFT. And just like in my old business, I'm going to make 100 copies. So you basically, on these platforms, and these are just all drop down, click and drop platforms. Now you can say, I will make 100 units of this piece of artwork, and it doesn't create 100 copies of the JPEG. It actually creates 100 units of these ERC 721 tokens. So these little code snippets or smart contracts on Ethereum. But and then you go, of course, you can go on a website like Foundation or Nifty Gateway to sell your artwork. Now you price it at $1,000, just the same thing, right? And people will buy it now for $1,000. Why? Because they provably know that there are only 100 of these tokens, and you can copy the JPEGs because the JPEGs are actually unprotected. It's just like sitting on Dropbox or something, right? You can copy the JPEGs, but you can't copy the tokens because the tokens doesn't live on the internet. It lives on the Ethereum blockchain. And the Ethereum blockchain provides scarcity assurance and protection from tampering. So that assurance basically allows you to make a digital good that is scarce. That sounds in a way backward because it's like, hey, a JPEG is like digital stuff is supposed to be free and infinite. Why would you like walk backwards and make something that has more fluidity, more I don't know, rigid? The benefit is just in the incentive structures and in how human psychology works. We will buy something that's scarce, but we will not buy something that's called infinitely abundant. So it actually creates an opportunity and creates a real business for and livelihood for the creator, and it allows a collector side kind of ecosystem to develop at the same time. So it actually benefits both sides. The important thing is no one is coerced to use this technology. So if you think this is a bunch of nonsense, you don't have to participate. Like, but I think golf is nonsense. I don't play golf, right? But for the people who do like it, it's like the artist now has a way of making a living on the internet, which, are we going to say that's bad? And collectors now can pay patronage to the artist. Are we going to say that's bad? Like, it is literally a win-win situation. And the only way you can screw it up is by like nitpicking and then finding some nonsense environmental narrative and then making the focus of that of your column and then printing it in the Guardian. That is literally the only way you can screw it up. And of course, that's the angle that some people choose to take.